Hi there, it's me, Alex William Smith, by birth better known in my stage name Jonathan Royle, or former stage name Alex Leroy, as it was in 1994 when the Sun newspaper printed fabricated lies, making allegations I'd hypnotised women to have sex with me against their will, which was completely untrue. And in the past, some people, such as, for example, Paul Zenon, have intimated that that article proves that I've done things like that, which I never have. Well, let's just look at the facts. On the 30th of September 2022, I filed a legal claim against News Group newspapers, Alex Smith versus NGN. My claim at specific particulars of claim can be seen on circusofthemind.net, and you'll see that within them I assert the fact that I was lied about in a defamatory manner by the 1994 Sun article. I also assert the fact that the 1998 News of the World article, when Mahmood, the fake Sheik, printed defamatory lies, created tainted evidence, created a malicious prosecution that led to my 2 now unsafe criminal convictions, was indeed that. A complete fabrication. And indeed, on Tuesday the 3rd of February 2026, I go to the Criminal Cases Review Commission with the tons of fresh evidence I got during disclosure in Alex Smith versus MGN. A case that was settled in my favour in December 2024, and in March 2025 News Group newspapers issued me a private letter of apology for the actions of their journalist in the formulation of that 1998 article. So let's see, the evidence stacks up that I have always been telling the truth, and that when I've said that people have been making defamatory and untrue comments based on lies, that is definitely now proven by court legal matters to be the case that I've always stated it to be. And in relation to my book, Hypnotism and Sex, How to Get Laid 365 Times a Year, it's a title. It was sensationalism to make some money with a self-help dating book, which is no different than many other self-help dating books and psychology self-help books available on the market, except I had to, because of the defamatory nonsense that had been printed in 1994 by the Sun, I had to, rather than my career collapsing, harness and try and go with that bad boy of hypnosis image. I was forced into it. Fortunately now I've been able to prove through legal action against News Group that they have published lies about me in the past. They've used unlawful information gathering, phone hacking, Mahmood drugged my drinks, and manipulated evidence, and all the things that they've apologised for as well on top of that, which I'm going to the Criminal Cases Review Commission. Have a look at unsafeconvictions.wordpress.com. I know you won't, Paul Zenon, if you see this. You'll probably bury your head in the sand or throw your toys out your pram like you did when I did an interview with Craig Petty for his Talk Magic YouTube channel, where you threatened legal action against him because I made allegations in there that you were the key component to my lecture at the Magic Circle getting cancelled in 2017. Well, I assert that is still the case, despite the fact you got the Magic Circle to send me a letter saying yours was the one voice of many. Those other voices rose because you posted on Magic groups, of which I've got the screenshots and evidence there. So if you want to throw your toys out the pram, please do, and do it publicly on social media, because then that will reignite my ability to make a legal claim against you, because as you well know, 6 years is the legal statute of limitations for defamation cases unless something else triggers it, which is why I was able many years later to, in 2022, take action against News Group newspapers because other important information came to light. So it's up to you, or you could do the right thing and apologise for getting my lecture cancelled. Apologise for in the past posting stuff. And you posted going, if what I was saying was true, why wasn't I involved in the Leveson inquiry? Well, there's a reason for that. Number one, I didn't have all the evidence at the time of the Leveson inquiry I have now of what the media had done to me. Number two, the evidence I do have is more relevant to part 2 of the Leveson inquiry, should that ever occur, namely police corruption and criminality linked between the police and the media, which is what's proven by stuff at unsafeconvictions.wordpress.com. So if there is a part 2, or when there's a part 2 or something similar, guess what? I will most likely be involved in. You know why I can say that with confidence, Paul? Because I was one of the last 3 people standing in Transfer of the Midville, the mobile telephone voicemail interception litigation. You might have heard of it. It was a big load of people major celebrities and royalty and, you know, really important people. And then there was a little lowly hypnotist and magician, Alex Smith, aka Jonathan Royle, who filed claims, all of which were settled, with the exception of 3 people before the end of 2024. In December 24, there were still 3 people standing. They were this magician hypnotist guy, Alex Smith, Jonathan Royle, Lord Tom Watson, the former Labour MP, and the Duke of Sussex, Prince Harry. 3 people who have something in common. We've all been victims of Mazher Mahmood's perjurous lies. And indeed, although I ended up getting forced by a Part 36 offer, look it up if you don't know what it means I had no choice but to settle for a substantial settlement amount of money like all good innocent people do. But they also gave me an apology in early 2025, as I've already mentioned. Lord Tom Watson and Duke of Sussex got forced into settling in January 2025, as well as famously reported worldwide. I was a witness for them. I gave them witness statements. That's how unimportant I am. I've got a funny feeling I'll be involved in a part 2 if there is such. Will you apologise then? Probably not. And no, I'm not a keyboard jockey, am I, Paul? You know that, because when you've kind of accused me of that in the past, would I dare to say things to your face when I see you? Well, I did, at the Ruskin Hotel, and you just ran off to the toilet. Probably so you could turn your phone on to record. But you didn't get anything, did you? Because there were witnesses galore that basically saw that I just pointed out that you posted defamatory, untrue, vindictive nonsense online. I got my lecture cancelled, basically, on the foundation of lies and nonsense. I'm always open to hearing an apology. It's up to you. So the question is, why did the Magic Circle cancel my booked and planned lecture in 2017? Was it, as I came at the time to the conclusion of, that it was largely due to postings by magician Paul Zenon made on the Magicians of Facebook UK, also I believe on the Magic Circle private members Facebook group, and also on his own profile, as screenshots that follow will show. Now, I may have thought at the time he was solely responsible, but by that I meant the main cause, as it were. Because as the Magic Circle's own letter to me confirmed, Paul did voice his opinion that I shouldn't be booked and it should be cancelled, but that many other people did as well. The question is, was that because they were stoked up by Paul posting about my book Hypnotism and Sex and giving the impression that I hypnotise women into having sex against their will, which is completely untrue and is also completely defamatory? Anything of that nature that I've been involved with, publicity-wise, were only publicity stunts anyway, but aside from that made it clear that it was a fully consensual thing between adults, fully consenting and in full knowledge at all times, and not as some of the gutter press have incorrectly, especially Rupert Murdoch's Sun newspaper in 1994, completely printed things that were not said by me or the lady in question, who actually was a paid model friend of mine, and they didn't print anything that she said. They made it up and twisted things, and before people go, why didn't you take legal action? Well, I couldn't at the time, but as it turns out, the 1994 article is actually, because of other things that took place, going to be part of my arguments against newsgroup newspapers that was submitted and filed as a legal case on the 30th of September 2022, as shown at links above or below this video. Anyway, check out this stuff, the screenshots, and there is the footage from my Talk Magic interview with Craig Petty that had to be taken out because Paul Zenon threatened legal action and threatened to get Craig's YouTube channel taken down. Well, I discussed this with Craig and said, look, everything I said is true and I still stand by it, but if you edit it out, at least then you can put the rest of the interview up, which is still on Craig's channel, 3 hours of it, link above or below this video, and, well, it'll shut Paul up. I'll take the heat off you, as it were. And we agreed that was the best thing to do. I'm now releasing it this way so that you can see what was cut out of that video, because I do stand by everything I said, And I also made it clear in that video anyway that Paul wasn't the only voice, and I made mention of the fact the Magic Circle said there were other people as well. But he most certainly bragged about the fact that I'd been cancelled, and he was happy about it, as you can see from the screenshots that follow, and in my opinion has definitely purposely or misleadingly posted stuff in the past that's untrue, out of context, and some may perceive, as I did, honestly, and I'm entitled to my own opinion, in a manner that maybe was to incite dislike, hatred even, from others in the community. So for the interests of clarity, I did get a letter from the Magic Circle after they'd cancelled my lecture and all the hoo-ha that went on back on the 4th of July 2017, where their statement was, and I read, "Dear Mr. Smith, further to the booking at the Magic Circle that was due to take place on the 19th of June 2017, your subsequent postings on various Facebook forums, your blog and Twitter account incorrectly single out Paul Zenon as being responsible for the event being cancelled. The reality is that we had a string of complaints from many distressed members via our members forum, email and telephone, as well as numerous threats from members to boycott the premises that evening. Paul Zenon did express some concern. I repeat, Paul Zenon did express some concern about the booking of your lecture, but his voice was that of many other members. The council reiterate that such postings targeting Paul Zenon in this instance are simply not true. Yours sincerely, Megan Knowles, who at the time was the secretary of the Magic Circle." Here's the thing. In regards to that letter, I categorically just repeat that they say themselves that Paul Zenon did express some concerns about the booking of your lecture, which is all I ever really said in what follows my interview with Craig Petty. I made it clear that Paul Zenon was not the only person, but that he was one of the first, and that he helped stir the hornet's nest, in my opinion, based on the evidence I've seen. To discover more about the story, it's covered at the time by the JERX'S website. So if you on Google type in Jonathan Royle Magic Circle the JERX, JERX, as you can see, click enter, and sure enough your first entry will be that, Jonathan Royle versus the Magic Circle on the 26th of June 2017. You click on that, and the JERX goes into details about things, and he has a link there to which you can click on. I'm just going to copy it to put it in another window, but he goes into it and you can go and see that yourself anyway, as I say, on the JERX'S website, thejerx, jerx.com/blog /2017//Jonathan-Royle-VS-the-Magic-Circle. See what you make of that yourself. And then there's a link here, which is Web Archive, because I did take my page down because I was fed up with the controversy. So we just have to let that load a minute. Another random exchange before I was banned from Magicians of Facebook UK, where Zenon denies ever slagging off anybody, but he does admit to have questioning the use of CGI and stooges in TV magic shows, people like Dynamo. But, you know, the way I perceived it, and some other people I know, was that came across as though he was slagging people off. I suppose it's a matter of semantics and your definition of it. A great example of kind of tit for tat, more so childish trouble causing, attempting with the bit at the end of this. I mean, you can read it, but at the end it goes, "Why don't you tell us again about the time you combined the two and bullshitted about a well-known Blackpool performer by writing a letter to their long-term employees, slagging them off? If I remember rightly, you apparently did that on someone else's behalf. Do tell, Jonathan." Well, he already knew. He knew due to the fact that I published an apology, the link to which is on my blog and will be above or below this video. It's a personal apology to Russ Stevens And I mentioned the whole incident and the facts behind it in my interview with Craig Petty on Talk Magic, which can be watched in full at the link above or below this video. Just more trouble causing. Further in a conversation on Magician's Facebook UK, Paul Zenon trying to rake up the whole news of the world, Mazher Mahmood, fake Sheik stuff, the fact that I ended up spending a bit of time in prison. Talk about childish and basically trying to cause trouble. Some might argue trying to incite hatred against me, when the real truth is fully explained at circusofthemind.net. As I point out, I've already provided links and evidence to Paul numerous times in the past to show that I'm ultimately not guilty of anything I was accused of. And the fact is there's an ongoing investigation by the Criminal Cases Review Commission, as this is recorded on the 31st of October 2022, ready for release in December 2022. Because I'm not going to release it till just before, into December. Then, yeah, he should have already known. But it's just because he wants people to start talking about it. It's inciting, trouble causing, I would argue, and is my opinion. Another example of attempted trouble causing. Paul bringing up, did you contact the pubs and the police not so long ago regarding groups of magicians who met there in order to complain about illegal hypnosis? Yes, I did, because what they were doing was illegal under the 1952 Hypnotism Act and also arguably under certain other laws. And I do talk about this in my interview with Craig Petty on Talk Magic, the link to which is above or below this. The key is I was doing nothing wrong. Later in that thread, because after I'm pointing out the truth to him and giving links, he kind of tries to divert attention from the fact that his version isn't the full picture. But look at this. According to him, he says, just to clarify, you admit to stealing material from other performers. No, I don't. That's fully explained in the video that follows this. I admitted to having modelled something, but not stealing material. Apparently, he's saying to me, you were investigated over suspect medical practices under the auspices of your doctorate. Totally untrue, never been investigated for any apparent alleged suspect medical practices. That's defamatory, wholly untrue, libelous, defamatory, slander, whatever is the relevance to it printed. It's basically just not true. And as for any doctorates I've got, they're all fully legal, honoris causa, religious degrees, which entitle me to use the term doctor. But doctor anyway, in the context I use it, as explained on my career resume, the link to which is below or above this video, is not a protected title in England, and anyone can use it in the manner that I do. It then says you refer to fellow Facebook magicians as pricks. Well, I do. The ones that act like pricks get called pricks. Vast majority are okay. And you report social gatherings of magicians to the police for using illegal hypnosis. Only when they're using illegal hypnosis. Now you threaten to report me to the police, and then you post in a thread participating about how important it is to support fellow magicians. Yeah, support fellow magicians who are not breaking the law, who are not slagging other people off, who are not telling lies and trying to incite trouble by claiming news of the world and Mazher Mahmood related things are something that they're not, for example. Veiled threats then here. As for me hiding behind friends, I'll meet you face to face any time and my views won't be any different. We'll see how brave you are with your insults when you're not at the far end of a keyboard. I've seen Paul several times at Blackpool Magic Convention since this, and he's not said a word. He's looked at me sheepishly. He's given me looks of, well, funny facial expressions. Spent hours in the Blackpool Magic Convention auction 2022 with him in the same room. He didn't once approach me. He didn't say a word to me. He just gave me funny faces and looks. Now, in fairness, much later, he says, it's not about him, Dynamo. It's not about him personally. It's about using digital editing effects and stooges. But you decide for yourself. It comes across, and it certainly did to people in that thread. Otherwise, Paul wouldn't have to respond like that, as though it came across to them that he was slagging off Dynamo. Whether he was or he wasn't isn't really the point. It's how it came across to the average man on the street. Just to be clear, in another thread where Zenon accuses me of accusing him of being a liar without foundation, although, you know, I've only ever made such comments or implications when stuff that's untrue, defamatory, out of context or distorted has been posted. He ends up by making it clear that he's blocked me, which he has. So to be clear, it's not me that's blocked tons of people. You blocked me, Paul. But back to the Magic Circle briefly. Look at that. Glad to hear that the scheduled lecture by Dr. Jonathan Royle, Alex Leroy, Alex William Smith, Ford, Alex Alexander, Ford Tarquin, Fintim, Limpin, Wimber, whatever, bus stop for Tango, Biscuit Barrel at the Magic Circle headquarters next month has been cancelled due to popular demand, which he posted on, I believe, his profile. I don't know, because I was blocked. I got sent the screenshots. And definitely in a Magic group, causing people to start liking. This was early on, but it ended up with hundreds of people, possibly thousands, seeing it. To me, that illustrates someone who is so glad they got what they wanted, me cancelled. That's how I perceived it, my personal opinion, and I explain more about that in the video. Now, the Magic Circle say it wasn't just Paul Zenon, fair enough, but I do know that he posted in the Magic Circle members group, or at least I'm led to believe by the person who booked me, didn't book me, liaised with me, that there was a posting made in there that ultimately got deleted initially, and I was alerted about before I was ever cancelled. And there were certainly postings made in various places before I was cancelled that some may perceive, as I did, were with some sort of intention to incite other Magic Circle members to complain. But all we can be sure of is that Paul Zenon was one of the voices, as confirmed by the Magic Circle, and as I clarify more in the video that follows. So now what follows is the section, the main bit that was cut out of my first ever interview with Craig Petty for his Talk Magic TV podcast station and YouTube channel, where I mentioned Paul Zenon. It was up for about 24 hours originally with this material included, but then Paul made legal threats that frankly were unfounded, because I believe those threats were that I would supposedly get Craig's channel taken down if the video wasn't removed. The easiest thing to do, which I discussed with Craig and gave him my full blessing, full understanding that it was just easier to cut out any mention at the time of Paul Zenon from his channel, so his channel wasn't at risk. That's why I'm now releasing in December 2022 the bits that were missing, that were pulled out, because as hopefully what you've seen from the images before this and the stuff located at the links above or below this video, everything I say is true, and there's more than enough screenshots and evidence to show that things that Paul posted in the past were either out of context, distorted heavily, completely untrue in some cases, or he may have genuinely thought certain things to be true, but then I drew his attention to places like circusofthemind.net, where the full truth is about my fake Sheik and News of the World experiences and whatnot, and yet he seems to have chosen to ignore them. So yeah, here's what was cut out of my first ever Talk Magic interview with Craig Petty.
Hey guys, welcome back to Magic TV. My name's Craig. It is 9 o'clock, which means it's time for a Talk Magic. And this is less of a Talk Magic and more of a Talk Hypnotism, because the person I have in front of me today is one of the top practitioners, is that the word? One of the top hypnotism performers, but also has had a huge career both as a magician, a mentalist, a hypnotist. He's very well known in the magic community. He is considered one of the most controversial characters in the magic community, and that's coming from me, who's also been considered quite controversial through the years. I have nothing on this guy. He has had an incredible career. If you saw the interview I did recently with Rob Temple, who everybody raved about that interview. Well, Rob is actually a student of the gentleman I have here with me today. And unlike a lot of the interviews, I have no idea where this is going to go. I have no idea what's going to happen, but I have been super excited about doing this interview for a long time. So it's time to introduce, on Magic TV, on Talk Magic, the one and only Jonathan Royle. How you doing, man? You okay?
I'm good and well. Even makes me want to watch the interview. And by the way, I can't remember the last time I got called a gentleman. So thank you for that. Yeah.
You're more than welcome. But it's true. I've had a lot of people ask me to do this interview, especially after Rob's interview, because in Rob's interview, which I know you watched, he referenced you many, many times throughout the interview as a big kind of source of inspiration and reason why he had got to the point where he had. But, outside of that, you have had an incredible career. You're very knowledgeable, and for some reason, you've had quite a lot of controversy surround you in so many different aspects of the career that you've had. Now, we've known each other for a long time. And I've been aware of you, but this is going to be a really interesting interview for me because I'm not even aware. I try to stay away from a lot of the controversy unless I'm creating it. So it's going to be really interesting to kind of get to the bottom of everything and find out everything. And I know you said to me earlier, no questions are off the table. I can ask anything that
Precisely.
I want.
Yeah, I've nothing to hide because, that's the thing. When you consistently tell the truth, it doesn't matter if people want to backstab you. The only way they can then go and backstab you is to make things up. And people can either then choose to believe it or not. But hopefully intelligent individuals will go away, and these days it's easier than ever, do a tiny bit of research and discover whether it's what I've said for years that's true or whether what some rumour monger posting anonymously most of the time, facelessly, not having the balls to do it. There's a few exceptions to that. And if I'm just going to ask up front out of respect, if at any point it becomes relevant during the interview, as long as I make this disclaimer right now, I take full legal responsibility if I should mention anybody's names. Having said that, is it okay if I mention names?
Yeah, by all means. I mean, this is your interview.
In which case, the exception to the rule is people like Paul Zenon, who, all respect to him on a few levels. One, he's an excellent performer. And bloody hell, if you were at Blackpool this year, I'm not wanting to take anything away from any of the other performers, but he, as the compare of one of the gala shows, he stole the show. Okay, so I just want to make that clear.
I've always been a big fan of his style and the way he performs, and I've seen him perform on stage many, many times. He's very, very good. Very
Performance-wise, boom, excellent. I can't say anything but good. In terms of his relationship to truth, reality, and facts, and the way he wishes to portray certain things, if you were to believe Paul Zenon, for example, we'll shut this in at the beginning, I stole tons of material off him, which the truth of that is, when he goes posting that around the internet, is I once said to him, admitted to him, kind of thing, and I felt guilty that I was doing a show once with Jimmy Cricket, the comedian, and one of the support acts, one of the props malfunctioned, and I was asked if I could do a bit of extra time to fill in. And I literally didn't really have anything in the way of additional props with me, because that was never going to be an issue. It wasn't a thing I'd planned for that day. And I looked around and I suddenly saw in the dressing room, there was a microphone on the side. It clearly belonged to this, it was like a working men's club style venue. And I thought, this is I won't get arrested for this, because I did tell the person who owned the venue afterwards what I'd done and offered to pay for the microphone. But I thought, microphone wire, it's the same as the mic wire that's out the front. So I literally cut some of it off, got some elastic, and made up a gimmick so that I could do the cut and restored microphone wire. And needless to say, I did the obligatory licking the fingers, putting it on, you can hear me, and then you can't, and whatnot, which in my head at that time, I thought I was in what they call NLP, they would say modelling, but the layman's term is copying, or some might say stealing, the presentation that I'd previously seen Paul do. And I actually admitted to in black and white in a Facebook message exchange with Paul, that I'd done this, and I said, I just want to let you know, kind of thing. I'm sorry, but it was like pulling me out of the shit. I will never normally, it's not going in the act. It was a one-off. I'm just letting you know in case, you know, you're working with Jimmy and he mentions that I was trying to avoid an issue before it ever became an issue. And oh, lo and behold, it took total umbrage at that, because then he came back and he went, well, that's not the only thing you've stolen. And I went, what? He said, well, you've stolen my catchphrase. What? He said, well, I quite often say life in the bus lane, and you filmed a TV series in Amsterdam in 2001, I think it was, off the top of my head. It's on my website anyway. People can watch it for free now because I've got the rights back on it. And he said, you clearly stole that off me. And I said, well, no, actually. My Uncle Jim, as in on my dad's side of the family, was a bus driver for Greater Manchester buses for years. And if you go on Amazon, you'll see there are books called Life in the Bus Lane. It's tales of Greater Manchester bus folk. That's actually where it came from. And they used to say it as in the sense of, it's a sarcastic saying. Now, since then, in fairness, I have been shown, and well, saw at Blackpool. He actually said it a couple of times at Blackpool. And it was used exactly in that context of almost sarcasm. But the point is, and I made it clear to Paul, to his, directly, although he's now blocked me on all social media accounts, but I never directly stole that off him. And it actually wasn't my decision to call the TV series in Amsterdam Life in the Bus Lane anyway. It was the television production companies, not mine. But for some reason, he decided in a vindictive manner to, I must, every opportunity to bring this up, not least of which was when I was booked to lecture at the Magic Circle in London, sharing my original magic and mentalism ideas, not a hypnosis lecture, I mean, magic and mentalism stuff. And Paul started up a thread on a Facebook magic forum the moment the advert came out saying I was going to be there, going, basically, who booked this Michael Hunt? And regurgitating that he's stolen my act in the past and putting the twist on it. And well, subsequently he managed to then, having brought up the subject of a book that I brought out in 1993 called Hypnotism and Sex, subtitled How to Get Laid 365 Times a Year, which has got a very controversial title, yes. And the way it was marketed was this impression that you could hypnotize women into bed. But the truth is, if you actually get the book and read it, it is purely a book on body language, doing things like opening doors for women, walking on the outside of a pavement, letting them walk on the tried, tested and true relationship enhancing techniques that's likely to make you more desirable to the opposite or same sex, if that's your thing, but with a sensationalized title. It does not teach you to go out and psychologically or physically or in any other manner do anything illegal, immoral or unethical, despite the way it may have been portrayed and marketed by some of the mainstream tabloid media in the early 90s, which it was around the world. It was portrayed in that way, which were great for sales, but somebody who's been in the show business as long as Paul has should know that not everything you read in the tabloid media is true. They quite often blow things out of proportion. And there is absolutely no way that he has read that book, because if he had, then that would make him a blatant liar, which I'm not accusing him of. So there's no way he's read that book based on his comments, because any of his comments were along the lines of this book is about making people do things against their will. And it most certainly never was, and it isn't. But it kicked up enough of a stink that loads of lady members of the Magic Circle, who also hadn't read the book, were just believing the title or the publicity that's still got residue on the internet. Enough of them complained that ultimately my lecture got cancelled thanks to the fire that was started by Paul Zenon. All very sad, really, because I still, having told that story, want to publicly say, Paul sees this. I'm sorry if you think that Life in the Bus Lane as a title was stolen by me from you. But you know what? My uncle was saying it probably before you ever were involved in show business, as were dozens, if not hundreds, of Greater Manchester bus drivers. It wasn't me who chose it as the title of the series anyway. It was the production company. And in reference to the cut and restored might lead, the times you've kicked off about that. And then the irony of it is I found out later, although in my head, the reason I contacted you, having done the show with Jimmy, was to be honest and upfront. If you bump into Jimmy and he says, I've done this, and he recognises it from your act, it was a one-off, I don't intend to do it again. But then, lo and behold, after you've slagged me off on the internet about it, I then get brought to my attention video footage of David Nixon doing a cut and restored boom mic lead on his black and white television show, doing the exact same touching, can be heard, take fingers off, can't be heard. So if I did nick that routine from you that day, I nicked the routine off you that you nicked off David Nixon. Make of that what you will. Sorry, I went off on one there.
That's all right, mate. That's okay. Like I said, this is going to be controversial, and that's what I expected, and that's absolutely fine. How long ago did the Magic Circle thing happen? When were you going to lecture at the Magic Circle?
I will, because I've got my phone here, and I've now deleted my blog that I did on that, but the records of it are still on Web Archive. And I mention that because anyone who wants to go on the JERX'S website, thejerk.com, he did an article at the time about the fact the Magic Circle had booked me and then cancelled me. And he did that article on the 26th of June, 2017. So I was meant to be there around June, July or August time, 2017. So 5 years ago now.
Okay. So have you spoken to Paul since then? Have you?
No, I saw him staring at me and giving me the evils for about 8 hours of the duration of the Blackpool Magic Convention auction. We were sat in the same room, and he did keep walking past me and giving me the evil stare, but he didn't say a single word to me. As I've already said, Life in the Bus Lane, covered it. That I can't see how you can justify that I stole it off you now that I know what I know, which I didn't know at the time when I contacted you. But in any event, I'm sorry if there's something else I've done that I don't know about. I'm sorry. So all very bizarre and life's too short. You know, I turned 47 on the 13th of August, just gone. And come this November, to be precise, I'll be then entering my 45th year as a performer in show business, professional, getting paid. So I'm getting too old for all this controversy and arguments and such like, you know. It's and when I saw you in Blackpool, I mentioned coming up or just having happened. I don't know when this ends up going out, but Magic Scene, I believe it's going to be edition 106, are doing an article, and well, the working title's Almost a Magician, and the reason for that being is my dream as a kid, like many people, from the first time I saw magic, was to be a full-time professional magician. And yet, you know what, I sit here speaking to you today, and I'm so glad that I do. And hopefully this marks a turning point where that dream might start to work in the right direction again, because I never had any desire to be a full-time professional stage hypnotist or hypnotherapist. It was never it was never meant to be on the agenda. Life just took a crazy, I mean, in truth, if I'd have followed my family's path, I should by rights be traveling with the circus where I was born, and I should still be performing as Flap the Clown. So, you know, even from an early age, I kind of
let's talk about that early age. I want to talk about that. So you've been involved in magic and show business for a very long time. Tell us where that all came about. So you were born into a showbiz family, right?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't have a choice at the early age. I was born, my mum and dad were traveling with Gandhi's circus here in England. The week that I was due, the show was going to be in Wales. No offence to Lloyd or Lloyd Barnes or anyone else from Wales, but my dad didn't want me to end up being Welsh. So he drove me over to Cosford, where my grandparents were living, and I ended up getting born on the RAF base in Cosford, and then taken back to the circus who were in Wales a couple of days later, because he literally just wanted to avoid me being born Welsh. Madness. And just as a thought, just because I wouldn't want Paul wasting money or time, statute of limitations, defamation within 1 year. A claimant must commence a claim for defamation within 1 year from the date on which the cause of action accrues, namely the date on which the defamatory statement is first published. Well, as the screenshots I've got on file show, it's, well, the Magic Circle stuff's back in 2017. That's like over 5 years ago now. Or to put it another way, if you truly had thought that I'd publish lies about you, which I never did, Paul, because the screenshots show that my personal opinion and average man on the street could quite easily be construed that you posted stuff that was, at the very least, out of context and misleading. For example, stuff like the News of the World implying that I was lying about things when I wasn't. The full truth is at circusofthemind.net. And there's other links above or below this video that give more info on the Magic Circle lecture, my career resume to date, my doctorate titles being fully legal, the fact that I've never been investigated for medical dubious practices. That is something that in itself was wholly defamatory. But I chose not to waste my time or money, because you know how expensive defamation cases are, on you at the time. Paul, I let it go. But then you've continued to make out that I'm some kind of bullshitter. My story, as outlined, I stand by fully, which is in this video and the links. Yeah, simple as that. The clock ticked away ages ago. Oh, and yeah, check out circusofthemind.net, because I am currently got legal action against newsgroup newspapers. I really have. The link's above or below this video. So please, when that's concluded, I'll be in a position, well, I will be more likely then to take legal action against other people if they should continue to post untrue or defamatory content on the internet about me, when they could have gone to circusofthemind.net and the other links that are above or below this video and learn the truth with links to evidence and facts. Hi there, it's me, Alex William Smith, by birth better known in my stage name Jonathan Royle, or former stage name Alex Leroy, as it was in 1994 when the Sun newspaper printed fabricated lies, making allegations I'd hypnotised women to have sex with me against their will, which was completely untrue. And in the past, some people, such as, for example, Paul Zenon, have intimated that that article proves that I'd done things like that, which I never have. Well, let's just look at the facts. On the 30th of September 2022, I filed a legal claim against newsgroup newspapers, Alex Smith versus NGN. My claimant-specific particulars of claim can be seen on circusofthemind.net, and you'll see that within them I assert the fact that I was lied about in a defamatory manner by the 1994 Sun article. I also assert the fact that the 1998 News of the World article, when Mahmood, the fake Sheik, printed defamatory lies, created tainted evidence, created a malicious prosecution that led to my 2 now unsafe criminal convictions, was indeed that. a complete fabrication. And indeed, on Tuesday the 3rd of February 2026, I go to the Criminal Cases Review Commission with the tons of fresh evidence I got during disclosure in Alex Smith versus MGN, a case that was settled in my favour in December 2024, and in March 2025 News Group newspapers issued me a private letter of apology for the actions of their journalist in the formulation of that 1998 article. So let's see, the evidence stacks up that I have always been telling the truth, and that when I've said that people have been making defamatory and untrue comments based on lies, that is definitely now proven by court legal matters to be the case that I've always stated it to be. And in relation to my book Hypnotism and Sex, How to Get Laid 365 Times a Year, it's a title. It was sensationalism to make some money with a self-help dating book, which is no different than many other self-help dating books and psychology self-help books available on the market, except I had to, because of the defamatory nonsense that had been printed in 1994 by The Sun, I had to, rather than my career collapsing, harness and try and go with that bad boy of hypnosis image. I was forced into it. Fortunately now I've been able to prove through legal action against News Group that they have published lies about me in the past. They've used unlawful information gathering, phone hacking, Mahmood drugged my drinks, and manipulated evidence, and all the things that they've apologised for as well on top of that, which I'm going to the Criminal Cases Review Commission. Have a look at unsafeconvictions.wordpress.com. I know you won't, Paul Zenon, if you see this. You'll probably bury your head in the sand or throw your toys out of your pram like you did when I did an interview with Craig Petty for his Talk Magic YouTube channel, where you threatened legal action against him because I made allegations in there that you were the key component to my lecture at the Magic Circle getting cancelled in 2017. Well, I assert that is still the case, despite the fact you got the Magic Circle to send me a letter saying yours was the one voice of many. Those other voices rose because you posted on Magic groups, of which I've got the screenshots and evidence there. So if you want to throw your toys out of the pram, please do, and do it publicly on social media, because then that will reignite my ability to make a legal claim against you, because as you well know, 6 years is the legal statute of limitations for defamation cases unless something else triggers it, which is why I was able many years later to, in 2022, take action against News Group newspapers because other important information came to light. So it's up to you, or you could do the right thing and apologise for getting my lecture cancelled. Apologise for in the past posting stuff. And oh yeah, you posted going, if what I was saying was true, why wasn't I involved in the Leveson inquiry? Well, there's a reason for that. Number one, I didn't have all the evidence at the time of the Leveson inquiry I have now of what the media had done to me. Number two, the evidence I do have is more relevant to part two of the Leveson inquiry, should that ever occur, namely police corruption and criminality linked between the police and the media, which is what's proven by stuff at unsafeconvictions.wordpress.com. So if there is a part two, or when there's a part two or something similar, guess what? I will most likely be involved in. You know why I can say that with confidence, Paul? Because I was one of the last 3 people standing in Transfer of the Mittville, the mobile telephone voicemail interception litigation. You might have heard of it. It was a big load of people, major celebrities and royalty and, you know, really important people. And then there was a little lowly hypnotist and magician, Alex Smith, aka Jonathan Royle, who filed claims, all of which were settled with the exception of 3 people before the end of 2024. In December 24, there were still 3 people standing. They were this magician hypnotist guy, Alex Smith, Jonathan Royle, Lord Tom Watson, the former Labour MP, and the Duke of Sussex, Prince Harry. 3 people who have something in common. We've all been victims of Mahmood's perjurous lies. And indeed, although I ended up getting forced by a Part 36 offer, look it up if you don't know what it means I had no choice but to settle for a substantial settlement amount of money like all good innocent people do. But they also gave me an apology in early 2025, as I've already mentioned. Lord Tom Watson and Duke of Sussex got forced into settling in January 2025, as well as famously reported worldwide. I was a witness for them. I gave them witness statements. That's how unimportant I am. I've got a funny feeling I'll be involved in a part 2 if there is such. Will you apologise then? Probably not. And no, I'm not a keyboard jockey, am I, Paul? You know that because when you've kind of accused me of that in the past, would I dare to say things to your face when I see you? Well, I did at the Ruskin Hotel, and you just ran off to the toilet. Probably so you could turn your phone on to record. But you didn't get anything, did you? Because there were witnesses galore that basically saw that I just pointed out that you posted defamatory, untrue, vindictive nonsense online. I got my lecture cancelled, basically, on the foundation of lies and nonsense. I'm always open to hearing an apology. It's up to you.